息がとってもいいような夜だけどのよめききらめきと君もとってもいいような夜だけど共に歌おう終わった何の入り浸った明夜も変わらないね変わらないでたのは君だけが枕かして寝た針をためらうように寝た針をよそに思い始めてた息がとてもいいような夜だけどのよめききらめきと君もとてもいいような夜だけど愛して
OK。
It was early morning. One of my friends was a local gunsmith, and he handed out firearms to anybody who'd take one. You see, the Daltons got it in their heads to rob two banks at the same time. Two banks on the same damn street.
うるさい。
Story was Bob Dalton's girl was always riding him about how he had no ambition. Oh, you're nobody next to Jesse James, she'd say. Finally, the bastard took his brothers to Coffeyville just to shut her up.
Right. It's always the woman's fault.
Well, the locals recognized the Daltons right off. Before they could get away, half the town took up arms to defend their property. Their first mistake was pulling a job in their own damn hometown. The boys grew up in Coffeyville, so everybody knew them. The bank teller tricked them, telling them the time lock on the safe wouldn't open till 9:30. Well, that gave the locals enough time to prepare an ambush for those sons of bitches.
マップ隠しが出てない？
The brothers paid dearly for their stupidity, but everybody knows they had it coming.
There's more to it than that. I read all about that day, so I know for a fact that it went down very differently. First of all, it was high noon. A posse of U.S. deputy marshals were on the rooftop across the street.
Get ready. They're gonna make a move.
The lawmen had been tracking the Daltons for months. Now they finally had them dead to rights. Among them was a bounty hunter feared by many a lawbreaker. This man had no intention of letting the Daltons slip away. The marshals tried to get the Daltons to surrender.
They'll give up eventually. We just gotta wait until the bitches out.
This bounty hunter knew that the brothers were far too proud to ever lay down their guns. He went in there alone to confront those criminals. One of the marshals shouted, "Where are you going? Are you crazy?"
Hey, dumbass. That rifle's mine.
But he paid him no mind. He saw a way to get around to the back of the bank. Then he figured out how to hit the Daltons from a direction they weren't expecting. From above. Fortunately, a water tower was right there. A moment later, he was climbing up a steep ladder, laughing at danger as he did. It was brave men like him who risked their lives to tame this wild country. Heroic men like him did what other men couldn't and wouldn't to make this country free. Like Jim Bowie and David Crockett, who died defending the Alamo.
Over there! Silas Green! What the hell?
He came away victorious, taking down those thieving Daltons. His name was Silas Greaves. And when the dust finally settled,
It was early evening, not high noon. The Daltons blew up a safe, and were all set to hightail it out of there. I was late to the party, and Coffeyville was already up in arms. Those pathetic deputies surrounding the bank were dropping like flies.
リーダー、イケメン、負け犬、終わってる。
I had been tracking those jokers for months, waiting for them to do something reckless. And finally, they did. Those stupid bastards decided to rob two banks at the same time in the same town where everybody knew them. But they still had friends in Coffeyville. Shoot, I dare you! Can you shoot around corners? You come out and I will. You can't get me. Those friends came after me like a pack of wild dogs. Tooth and nail. They were coming at me from all directions. I caught sight of the Daltons running with the money and didn't want to lose it. Problem was, they knew the town better than I did. And to top it off, I found myself in the middle of another shootout entirely.
did the Daltons hole up in somebody's house?
No, it was the Smiths, I believe. They were cousins of the Daltons. And they were shooting at the Browns, who were shooting at the Daltons. Which wasn't any surprise, because those two
Did the Daltons hole up in somebody's house?
No, it was the Smiths, I believe. They were cousins of the Daltons, and they were shooting at the Browns, who were shooting at the Daltons, which wasn't any surprise, because those two families have been feuding forever. And since the Joneses are related to the Browns, they shot at the Smiths, pissing off the Heimhoffers, whose daughter recently married the Smith. Well, bullets were flying every which way as all the old dudes in the ranches caught fire all at once. There was a hell of a lot of pissed off people in the coffee field that day. But that's just the way life is sometimes. Shit happens. The Dalton boys knew I would never give up. Those Daltons weren't the sharpest knives in the drawer, but they always stood together. They set a trap to slow me down and allow at least two of them to escape. The third brother stayed behind to plant me, just in case that trap of theirs didn't work. It was Emmett, the youngest, and he decided to stand his ground and face me down.
I ain't afraid of you, Silent Reeves. This is where it ends for you.
He was determined to protect his brothers. And I understood how he felt. Taking me on all by his lonesome wasn't exactly the recipe for a long life.
無理無理無理無理無理、絶対無理だこれ。いや無理だこれ、ちょっと待って、避けれないしきつい。ミスった。でもちょっと強すぎるこれ。どうやって勝つんだよって。開幕ぶん投げる。開幕ぶん投げる。絶対無理じゃない？じゃあ無理じゃね？ガチで勝てなくないこれ。 これか。危ねえ。
But Emmett Dalton survived the robbery in Coffeeville. He's the only Dalton who did.
They say he was shot 23 times.
Well, Dwight, who do you think put all those damn holes in him? But I have to admit, that boy had grit. It took me a couple of days to track the Daltons down.
They can't get away with this.
And in that time, a whole posse of local vigilantes offered to lend a hand.
We'll track them to the ends of the earth.
They seemed as determined as me to find those outlaws. But as we headed into those swamps, it was like I had my own private army. There was no way those boys were getting away this time.
It was early fall, right? Beautiful time of year. At least you had the weather on your side.
Not by my recollection. It was damp and foggy as hell. It was tough to stay on a true course, so we kept an eye out for landmarks. It was autumn. The maple trees were in full color, red as blood. The rains that year were torrential, so the whole area was flooded. The vigilantes had spread out wide, and pretty soon I couldn't see anybody. Except for some bitches ahead of me wanted to do me harm, so I had to face them alone. I wondered why my compatriots didn't come running when they heard the shots.
どこ？これ？どこに向かえばいいのこれ？
So did you find the Daltons?
Not yet. But I did have the questionable pleasure of meeting a few of their friends.
なんだい誰だプレミアリネーションナイスおめでとう。無理すぎておもろい。
The boys had established quite a reputation by that time, so they attracted all manner of riffraff to their cause.
だから何も見てなかった最悪。ここからなのね。
Point being, I was under serious attack. And my reinforcements was nowhere to be seen. scrambled up top to get a better view. But just ended up falling inside.
So, how did you get out?
The barn doors was open. About right then, I saw some suspicious characters running through the bushes. Of course, I followed them. But that goddamn swamp was like a goddamn maze, and pretty soon I had no goddamn idea where I was. Steve? So I just started walking, and pretty soon Steve? Steve?
Huh? Oh, no, I'm listening.
Indians surrounded me from all sides.
またこれまずい。ちょっと待って、多すぎ。
No. I just wanted to make sure Steve was paying attention. Now, where was I?
You were following the Daltons through a swamp?
That's right. See, Steve? Dwight's paying attention.
No, I'm listening. I was just resting my eyes.
So, where was I?
The Daltons.
Right. See, there's a reason so many outlaw gangs are made up of brothers. Being a brother is a very sacred thing. It's a bond like no other.
So did you ever find the damn gold?
Yeah, but I did find a few that Kanslers breed like rabbits. More Smiths, Heimhoffers, and who knows what. But hell, what's more important than family? I'll bet Ben knows what I'm talking about. Dalton boys were out there somewhere, standing together against anyone who would threaten them. And that's when I saw it. A goddamn steamboat.
A steamboat in a swamp?
Yeah, Steve, but this wasn't much more than a wreck, really.
But how'd a damn steamboat end up in the swamps? Guess it floated off during the flood of '89.
Now, was it a stern wheeler or a side wheeler?
What? Does that really make a difference, Steve? It was a steamboat with a goddamn army on board. It was then that a fusillade of bullets come raining down from on high. Those vigilantes who accompanied me weren't anywhere to be found. But among those men that were shooting at me, I thought I saw some familiar faces.
ね、絶対無理でおもろい。待って、それ死ぬ。えぐい。無理だ。
Somewhere up there, the Daltons were waiting on me.
Sounds like you don't give up too easy.
That's the kind of man I am, Ben. I set out to do something. I do it. Surrender just ain't in my nature. Plus, I'm stubborn as hell. Right about then, much to my relief, the vigilantes finally arrived. Their leader motioned at a cabin in the middle of the top deck, pointing me directly at the Daltons. I finally had them, after months of dogged pursuit. Turned out that they had me.
Take him out! I'm sending you to hell!
The Daltons had played me like a fiddle. Apparently, the vigilantes were on their damn payroll. They didn't just want to shoot me. They wanted to burn me alive. But finding my way out of a burning labyrinth proved to be quite a challenge.
It was a riverboat, right? I mean, it's not like it was a ocean liner.
Well, yeah, but I was in a
Did you
fight.
hear about that ship that's gonna launch next year? Largest one in the world.
Talking about the Titanic. If you ask me, it's too blessed big. I don't think it is.
So anyway,
Don't be stupid, Steve. They know what they're doing. They say that the Titanic is unsafe.
oh God,
But getting back to that steamboat, how'd you get off of it, Spree?
I took in a lot of smoke that day, so I admit my recollection might be a bit hazy. But somehow I managed to finally disembark. It was time to settle this once and for all. To come at me one at a time. They were in this together. Two brothers side by side, determined to take me down. Confident that this time the odds were on their side.
無理やろ。無理じゃねこれ。無理やろ。無理無理無理無理無理無理無理。絶対無理なんだけど。
Two brothers side by side, determined to take me down. Confident that this time the odds were on their side.
なんで？ん？無理だ。ん？
entirely wrong. A sad end for those two. If they'd only known that Emmett was still alive despite his wounds. Paroled 14 years later, he moved to California and sold real estate and lived off the legend of that fateful day. And the tragic death of his two brothers.
これもう逆に不名誉な勝利以外で勝てなくない今の。反応抜きじゃ勝てないような気がするんだけど、普通に。一応勝てるようになってんのかな？どうなんだろう。
My own brothers died tragically as well, truth be told. It was 1860. Running cattle into Juarez, Mexico. One night after my brothers retired for the evening, I found a little poker game in a cantina with a couple of cowboys. And I just couldn't lose. I even won an old Spanish coin that had to be 100 years old. Well, I was mighty pleased with myself the next morning as my brothers and I rode for Texas. But before we crossed the border, those cowboys caught up with us. It was Johnny Ringo, Roscoe Bob Bryant, and another asshole named Jim. They wanted their money back and everything else we had, including our lives, as those boys didn't want us coming for them later. Bob put that old Spanish coin in my mouth and said, "I won't have it said that I left you with nothing, boy." Well, those horses bolted, and there we hung as those bastards rode away. The branch finally snapped under the weight of the three of us, but being my older brothers were bigger and heavier, they were already dead. And right then I swore to myself that I would avenge them. Ringo you know about. But Bob eluded me, until I heard he was riding with the Wild Bunch. I'd been on their trail for months, ever since they left their hideout in the Bighorn Mountains. Led by Butch Cassidy, they were a loose association of outlaws who robbed banks and trains from Colorado to Montana. Among them was the Sundance Kid, and that murderous hombre I was tracking, Roscoe Bob Bryant.
Were you a part of that giant Pinkerton posse after the Wild Bunch?
No, boy. A circus like that would have slowed me down. Besides, I wanted Bryant all to myself. I'd heard about a large shipment of gold being transported to Wilcox, Wyoming on the Overland Flyer. They blew the bridge with the intention of forcing the train to stop. Well, I assumed the Wild Bunch was likely in the still intact part of the train high above. So I had no choice but to make my way up through the passenger cars dangling down. I was determined to make that sumbitch Bob pay for what he did to my brothers. I found the device they used to blow the tracks, so I knew I was headed in the right direction.
My ears are still ringing from blowing up that bridge.
Well, I made my way off unscathed and came upon a few members of the gang and had no choice but to dispatch them. From there, I had to negotiate an even more precarious route. But first, I would need to get my ass out of there. gang, but in order to find old Bob, I needed to fight my way forward past a whole passel of desperados. Outside, inside, any way I could, I made my way towards my prey.
Well, what about the passengers?
It was mostly a freight train, as I recall. There were no passengers aboard that day. As I mentioned before, I am not fond of heights. But I was too busy dodging bullets to worry about falling to my death. Odds were I was likely to die that day anyway. So I was determined to take down as many of those bastards as I could. Times it was like shooting ducks in a shooting gallery. The only difference is these damn ducks shot back.
ああ、それで死ぬんだ。なんでやねん、なんでやねん、おかしいやろ。
I kept hoping the law would show up and give me a hand.
Like that giant Pinkerton posse that I read about. Did they come riding in, guns a-blazing to help?
Help? From the Pinkertons? No, son. I had to fight the Wild Bunch all by my lonesome, as usual. Who the hell is that? Is those dime novels didn't portray this as it happened, did they? Only a few stragglers were left. I had to cut them down further if I was going to stay on old Bob's trail. I silenced all those guns. I went searching for my nemesis, determined to finally have my justice. But the only survivor who welcomed me was George Flat-Nosed Curry.
Who was he?
The fastest gun in the gang. Right after Sundance, I mean. And Kid Curry, and maybe Elsie Lay. Though some folks might dispute that.
むずいなこれ。早すぎだろ。早すぎだろ。なんでやねん。待って、強すぎ。
The fastest gun in the gang. Right after Sundance, I mean. And Kid Curry, and maybe Elsie Lay. Though some folks might dispute that.
無理だ。早い。勝てねー。なあ。 やマジで勝てないな。終わってる。よし、危ない。
Very same day, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid decided to leave the Wild Bunch behind and decamped for South America. They ended up living down there for many years, but I'm sure you already know all about that.
Shit.
I tried to find Bob Bryant, but it was as if he'd disappeared. Sometime later, I heard the Wild Bunch was back together. Kid Curry escaped from jail, and now he was running the whole shebang. So I took to their trail, because I was still in pursuit of my brother's killer and hoped that he was back with him.
That kid Curry's kinda crazy.
Don't let him hear you saying that.
Anyways, I tracked those boys to a camp right outside Parachute, Colorado. Being outnumbered, I didn't bother with a warning shot. I just started taking those bastards down. Old Bob wasn't among them, neither was Kid Curry. I could sense him close by, however, plotting something nasty. I just needed a clue as to their whereabouts. And I found one. A map with their bold plan clearly marked. This time they were fixing to blow up a train trestle. Property of the Union Pacific. The plan clearly indicated how they were fixing to undermine several of the weakest wooden supports. Kid Curry was considered the wildest of the Wild Bunch.
疲れた。